there's the dream. And what I noticed was kind of strange in it was that it was superimposed over the top of, I saw the map of America, but it was in a future, and then superimposed over it was what is potential. So it's not a will be, it's like this is what could be. Um, and so let me just, all right, we got America, excuse me, this is gonna look bad, but anywho, Canada, Alaska up here, Mexico, Florida, Texas. Anyway, what I was seeing with the superimposed picture, and it wasn't in gold. When I see a dream in gold, it's because it's it's like what Jesus, what God wants to be, his ultimate, like what should be if it was of God, if it was his kingdom, if it was to love, protect, and have justice. This was a superimposed mess of what could be, but if the right things are done, doesn't have to be. So it's kind of like this could happen, but if something is stopped, then it can be redirected very easily with less issues. I know that makes sense. Anywho, the computers that I saw that were running the AI were up in Canada, but they were loosely connected with a few colleges, and there were 8 of them. And I did get, like, I was looking at the map and I was getting like more detailed locations, and the other one was further up here. So there was another one this way, but there was this sort of pattern that was going on. This part of the country, it was just cold. Cold just was what the strategy was. Let nature deal with it, just shut down the grid. This part with people who are more outdoor living, there's less of them. They were okay. Then in Washington State, this was a disturbing spot that I saw. There was an override here. That one. It was a very direct distraction. This wasn't an issue because of the weather. So the American base here, they ignored it. But this one was poisoned. It was a biological warfare. Up here, something, and in the, well, that was the main focus, but there seemed like there was a few targeted spots. This was the second thing that happened. The first one was something that wasn't really noticed, but there was like, how do you say, it was something to do with under the water, ocean. I think multiple, they weren't submarines, they were under the water, just stationary, and I think buoyant, so that at a certain time they could pop up, and they were storing drones and other things in them. They're like underwater caches all through here, and they're made out of plastic, and they're just floating all in here. So many. that was the first thing. I was just sitting. Then this one happened. Um, this was a delayed response, but the planning for it is already done. And this one's sort of like overseeing, but it seemed that it was sort of like a, they weren't too worried about it because it would be too easy, very easy. The Florida thing, Haiti was here, and I just saw this jump going on, just leaping, 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 and sitting, on and on and on. This was non-stop going on. Through here with Texas, so if this is like Port Isabel here, PI, Port Isabel, right here, and this is the Mexico border. And if, anyway, there was a sort of like hot spot here, and in the dream, it looked like a frying pan. But the frying pan, it wasn't necessarily them jumping into it. It was more of, if these people can keep being bluffed and bluffed, there's some people here that the enemy or the like China and the New World Order, Deep State are worried about in Texas because they have their eyes open. It's sort of become a symbolic, not necessarily PI, but the Mexico border has become a sort of focus for a lot of people who are patriotic, probably ex-military. It's become a sort of kind of a darling of, I want to protect it. And so this border here, there's a lot of aware and patriotic people whose focus is here. So I think this is their gauge for America, that if these people can be fooled, the rest of America's piece of cake. I think that's what those are, like the frying pan, the testing spot here of tolerance, and just how much power do they have. Like, we're gonna poke the bear and see if it reacts. Then California, then it was like, when I say enemy, I mean it's like China, some people in Russia. Russia, when the dream was divided into three, one of the parts was sort of set aside, like they're just not interested. The other part was more patriotic but want peace, and the other part was who's really running the country, and they're the warmongering, causing issues and money grabs and working with China and Deep State. So kind of, they don't really even have their own country. They're just drama queens and troublemakers. Anyway, in the dream, they considered California to be theirs. It was sort of like broken off, and not like an earthquake or anything like that. Just in the vision, it was broken off and almost like sitting in Russia, like it was owned. It's owned there. This was in my dream, was sort of like a schoolyard playground where there's no, like, it was completely trashed and no one was watching. A broken down schoolyard playground where people just keep, I'm not entirely, it's just a mess. That was just a mess there. Texas, in my dream, looked like an angry bear. So it was, they were scared of Texas. The rest of it, when, because there was the people, and I saw like Russia, China, Deep State, they were like the dark face, no alien, just people with that, the vibe of, anyway, it was a Deep State table in a rectangle. It wasn't a round table, it was a rectangle. And sitting at the head was China. At the tail was Russia, and all along were wannabes and leverage and people who are playing, like the people who are playing the mind games were scattered in, as well as the wannabes. So it was like they're keeping a low profile even though they're running the show, and China is the one that they are focusing on to take the lead. The this was nothing really going on here. This was the third focus. Death Valley area was the third focus. I think testing sites or something, but it was more of sleepers, but they weren't going to rely on them to take over the place by any means. All they had to do was watch and be ready to open the door. So they already have people there, and all they have to do is open the door. And that's all they're waiting for there. But that was the third focus. First, second, third. And this was the gauge. Then this wasn't an issue for them. This wasn't an issue. In here, they're counting on people wrecking the place them's panic. So it's not too cold. So this is going to keep going for a little while. So lack of food and lack of support, confusion, alien invasion, AI gone wrong, phones acting up, power down, hospitals not being provided for, food scarcity. It's people can get through this without panicking if they have the right leadership. But they were sort of like how America reacted with COVID, and we got to see exactly how America functions under pressure. They know this is going to implode very, very quickly. In here, there was respect. They're not scared, but they know this will be a very hot zone of people not giving in. I saw this will be a landing spot. And from Alaska, there was a dead zone here. This never started up again. It was like taken ground, but set aside for future use. And okay, the one thing that really popped out was these, because in Dream they're already in place, they're already there, and they can be found with dolphins. That was what was interesting. The dolphins know where they are, but they can't be tracked. The other thing was on this coastline was it was riots all along here, and it seemed like this part of America, they're counting on everyone, the Americans here, just tearing their own country apart through panic. This they already own. This is a done deal. They're not concerned at all. This is truly a trash pile. This is almost a complete trash pile, and the base is what's keeping this in some sort of normal. But it's in the Dream, it was the first one to go. Could be, not a will be. The only will be was these are already there, and dolphins can find them. And the other one is the grid here is already set to use nature to kill. And the bases, this one, biological warfare is like it's stuff that's already being tested. Excuse me. And with this group, they're picking out the main people who are the what, like the bell ringer, what do you call them? The people on the wall, the people watchmen, the ones who are aware, keeping tabs, spending the time, and are ones crying wolf. They are silencing them. The only way to stop this is to make sure that law enforcement is extremely supported and strong and is allowed to use force. Otherwise, this is pretty much a will be. America going crazy with the things that are falling into place. So one of the things that it's already too late is what I got in my dream, was that the things that have been put in place with the deep state, cutting the paychecks, the AI, roadblocks, and the distraction of this, and they're gonna just keep escalating. They've turned up the heat. Like if that's 100% straight out Third World War, they've only done this, and they're ready to completely escalate. They're not interested in peace. All the peace deals that I was seeing, like the attempt at peace, which is blessed by God. I know in the dream, Putin, Russia, they want peace. They're just over it all, but Putin's not running the country. And China's feels ready enough, and I think that's something in their culture. They make sure they're going to win before they start, usually. So this has already been put in place. America is a little bit more just like, we'll figure it out as we go, we're going to be fine. China's like, you're already hanging by a noose, and then we pull the lever. They don't take chances. That's why I think they will make sure it's all in place. They will pull the lever, and there won't be a fast enough response time. Let me just summarize this. It was very detailed. There was more, but I'm just gonna, if you want more, you can tell me. This might not be anything you're interested in, but this was a big one. There are people here who know what's going on and have been shut off. So communication, information, someone's blocking information, vital information here. I believe here, I think there's a cut off in what Trump needs to know, and I think he's been sort of there's been a separation, and I think that has something to do with the quantum computing and communication on some level of how people are reporting, because it's not going through. The truth isn't going through. There's just this sort of like lulling to sleep, turn up the heat, poke at the bear a little bit, and yeah, that's what in my dream what was going on. Anywho, that's all. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, bye-bye.